From the deserts of New Mexico to the swamps of the Deep South, the legend of Bigfoot refuses to stay buried. For decades, eyewitnesses have shared encounters that blur the line between folklore and lived experience, and the stories collected here form a chilling, continuous journey through some of the most unsettling moments ever reported in the wilderness. These are not polished campfire tales told for fun, they're raw memories, recalled by people who insist they encountered something they cannot explain. It begins in the wide, unforgiving landscape of New Mexico. The witness describes a sense of being watched long before anything was seen. The air felt heavy, quiet in a way that didn't feel natural. Then came the movement, large, deliberate, and unmistakably bipedal. Whatever it was did not behave like an animal known to the region. Its size, speed, and intelligence left the witness shaken, especially in a place where visibility is vast and hiding spots are few. The idea that something so large could move unseen was deeply disturbing. That unease intensifies when the scene shifts to a remote campsite. Alone at night, surrounded by darkness and the sounds of the forest, the witness recalls hearing slow, heavy footsteps circling the camp. The fire seemed to do little to keep whatever it was at bay. At one point, something massive moved just beyond the reach of the light, close enough to be heard breathing. The encounter lasted long enough to remove any doubt that this was imagination. Sleep never came that night. In Arkansas, the legend takes on a more regional name, the Harriman. Locals have whispered about it for generations, and one encounter adds weight to those rumors. The witness describes a tall, broad-shouldered figure covered in dark hair, moving effortlessly through thick woods. There was a sense of territorial aggression, as if the creature was warning the human to leave. The encounter ended without physical harm, but the psychological impact lingered for years. A cabin deep in the woods becomes the setting for another unsettling experience. Late at night, something approached the structure, testing doors and windows, not frantically but curiously. The witness could hear fingernails, or claws, scraping against wood. At one point, a powerful force struck the side of the cabin, hard enough to shake it. The idea that something strong enough to do that was standing just feet away was terrifying. When morning came, enormous footprints surrounded the cabin, then disappeared into the tree line. One of the most emotionally charged accounts involves a family dog. Known for its aggression toward intruders, the dog charged into the darkness after something approached the property. What followed was a brief but violent struggle, accompanied by sounds the witness had never heard an animal make before, deep, guttural, almost vocal. The dog returned injured and shaken, and whatever it attacked retreated into the woods. The witness believes the dog survived only because the creature chose not to escalate the fight. High above the forest floor, something massive moved through the treetops. Branches snapped under weight that no known arboreal animal could reasonably support. The witness watched as the canopy itself seemed to ripple, following the path of something traveling with purpose. Occasionally, a silhouette could be seen against the sky, far too large to be a bear, moving far too smoothly. The feeling of being hunted from above is one the witness says never truly fades. In the wetlands, the creature takes on a different identity, the swamp ape. Here, the witness observed it foraging, crouched low, using its hands with surprising dexterity. It moved slowly, deliberately, as if aware it was being watched but unconcerned. The smell was overwhelming, earthy, rotten, and powerful. When it finally stood upright, its height and bulk were undeniable. The witness remained hidden, afraid that even the slightest movement would draw its attention. Further north, in Washington state, explorers stumbled upon what they believed to be evidence of long-term habitation. Deep caves, littered with bones and signs of repeated use, hidden far from established trails. The size of the spaces suggested they were not made by humans or typical wildlife. There were markings on the walls, scratches placed too high to be accidental. The sense was not just that Bigfoot passed through the area, but that it lived there. One of the most frightening accounts comes from a witness who found themselves surrounded at night. Screams echoed through the forest, unlike any known animal call. They came from multiple directions, coordinated, as if the witness had wandered into the middle of a group. The sounds were deafening, aggressive, and filled with a raw intelligence. Frozen in place, the witness waited for an attack that never came, but the message was clear: you are not welcome here. In another campsite encounter, a group managed to drive something out by shouting, throwing objects, and keeping their fire roaring. The creature retreated, but not before making its presence known with loud crashes and a final roar that silenced the forest. The witnesses agree on one thing: it could have stayed and overpowered them if it wanted to. The fact that it left felt more like a choice than a victory. Strange whistling becomes the focus of another experience. Complex, repeated tones echoed through the woods, responding to each other in a way that suggested communication. When the witness attempted to mimic the sound, it stopped abruptly. Moments later, something moved nearby, close enough to be heard but not seen. The implication that the whistles were not random but intentional was deeply unsettling. The final account introduces one of the rarest variations, the white Bigfoot. Seen briefly at dawn, its pale hair stood out starkly against the dark forest. It watched from a distance, completely still, before stepping back into the trees and vanishing. The witness was left questioning everything they thought they knew about these creatures: how many types exist, how widespread they are, and how often they are seen without being recognized. Taken together, these stories form a pattern. Across states, climates, and landscapes, the behavior described is strikingly similar: intelligence, curiosity, territorial awareness, and restraint. Whether Bigfoot is an undiscovered species, something more mysterious, or a reflection of humanity's fear of the unknown, one thing is certain: those who believe they've encountered it are changed forever. They don't go looking for answers anymore. They just know what they experienced, and they know they're not alone out there.